Alright. So, we got, we're getting ready for Safari. Oop. Investors criticize the lack of infrastructure. I was literally just doing that at the beginning. A board of some of the most influential foreign investors have taken up issues directly with the General Bureau. Their aides, clerks of some of the wealthiest American or Japanese businessmen and companies, or ever Zaibatsus, have brought their mostly joint case within the governing complex. While mostly disunited for political, economic, or symbolic reasons, the investors nonetheless have once again taken a seemingly united stance to pressure us. However, with their individual gains in mind, the vital province of Boma is one of the central conglomerations of Central Africa's many foreign businesses for its revered economic opportunities and benefits. From raw materials to plentiful workforces, yet the needs of the investors are more than vital to our vibrant economy, have outgrown our offerings. According to the many representatives of the region's businesses, the provided infrastructure is by no means sufficient anymore to neither allow for the safe and swift fluctuation of raw materials into and within the region, nor for the required system to export goods produced by them. To please their growing economic interests, thus safeguarding our own prosperity, we need to tackle this issue immediately. It will be a vital step to keeping investors happy and concurrently investing. However, neither time nor money and resources are unlimited. Of course, we could just ignore their blatant audacity for time or financial reasons, but is it worth the risk? No, it's not. The investors demand it, we do it. Dang, I saw this mod was in development Steam, but there's a ton of yeah, and this is the new beta, so they have 5 years of content for East Africa, Central Africa, Südwest Africa, and South Africa. And they also still have content for they have the old content from the old beta, so the EuroLeague, Orenburg, I'm gonna butcher this, Magnitogorsk, actually not too bad, I think, and the Derlavanger Brigade. So they have events for all of that, and focus trees for first like 5 years at least, I think. So yeah, they're doing a lot for it, and I'm impressed. Please be investors. Reichskommissar Mueller returned from minor safari today. To pleasant news, our investors satisfied with progress on our construction projects have decided to continue business within Central Africa. Upon hearing the decision, the Reichskommissar personally contracted a few of those involved, commending their judgment and loyalty to the fatherland. He proceeded to invite one of the man for drinks whenever he next happened by. In all likelihood, Central Africa will continue to become a hub for foreign investment, aiding our rapidly growing infrastructure. There we go. That's a good sign, right? But yeah, I'm genuinely impressed by the state of this mod. Just from the beta. The Africa SS guards felt something different as they walked into the village for a routine partisan sweep. Most of the villagers scurried and hid away as always, but one man stood still in the front of his ramshackle house. As the soldier strolled by, he stood at attention, saluted, and shouted, La Loi, La Liberté. Dumb old man, one chuckled. You must think we're still part of Belgium. I know just who you are, boys. All you Force Publique dogs are the same. The old man called back, defiant in his voice. Provoked, the SS stormed over to the old man until they were inches from his wizened face. What makes you think you know us, old man? You don't even know what years it is. Oh, I know, all right, he replied. Father taped rubber veins for old Leopold when the Force Publique gave me this. He held out his arm and rolled down the sleeves, revealing a gnarled nub of flesh where a hand used to be. A reminder for my father to work harder, they said. The man who took my hand was black, but he did it because a white man paid him to. Just like you. We're nothing like those dogs, shouted the irate squad leader. The Germans put them in their place. Oh, did they? The old man spat out. So they still treat the Belgians more like us or more like their own? I still see Belgian judges, Belgian taxmen, Belgian foremen, Belgian officers. Maybe it's the Germans who pay their salaries now, and you're the same too. Different faces, yes, but always the same. Always the white man's maker. The squad leader swung his rifle around and drove the stock into the nosily shriveled Zack's stomach. Doubling him over, the rest of the men joined in with their fists and boots, not stopping until he was a wheezing, bloody wreck on the ground. Sated, the guard swiveled around and stormed out to the next village. Yeah, poor Russia. It is not looking nice. One of the neat things is, so it wasn't a feature of the old mod, or the old beta version, but a bunch of these guys start going to war with each other. So, like, West Russia will go after Utaka or Plestenk. These guys go to war a lot, actually. So you'll see a little bit of reunification start up, which is really neat, actually. Sometimes it was simple things, the shaking of leaves in the distance, with thump signifying the end of a mighty beast, the muffled sobs of a mother clutching her young ones. Mueller could hardly remember how many times he had undergone an expedition such as this one, but God, did it never get tiring. There was always a predator, one which lived fat and content at the top of the food chain, and there was always a man to challenge whichever animal claimed the throne of king of a jungle. This month, that's what he lived for, the hunt. Mueller flashed a devilish grin. While the thrill often came from hunting the predator, Mueller was not one to discriminate. The prey was just as valuable, bringing the binoculars to his eyes. The tattered tan figure in the distance confirmed his suspicions. Rebels lurked in the underbrush. He lifted the scope to his eye and trained on the target from a distance. He bit his lip in concentration. The far distant figure stumbled slowly across the grass. A pitiful scene brought a frown to the hunter. Hunting wounded animals was no fun at all. Quickly this devolved from a hunting trip to business, and how he loathed business. He shifted his weight and readied his finger on the trigger. Eins, zwei, drei, bang. The figure spurted blood with the bang. Another success. Mueller grinned as he took his eyes away from the weight. He fired a second time. The rebel crawled on the sand and still, despite blood pouring two ways. Either this man was resilient or he... Huh? Mueller peered closer. His legs hadn't moved at all. How the... Like a Zippo snapping open, things clicked into place. The bloody lump was no target. No, that went to his buddy using his carcass as a meat shield. Well, I'll be damned. The chuckle of a hunter under his breath. The jungle follows no law but the fittest's survival. That Mueller had been duped was a good thing. It meant the prey were learning how to fight like predators do. This, Mueller thought grinningly, was what he lived for. These hunts are going to get more interesting. Alright, sounds more interesting. Damn. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, there is, there's going to be something that pops up. It's like a... Yes! That's what I'm talking about. This is the trophy room, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we're going to display our beautiful conquest. So, I think with all of these focuses, we get an opportunity to kill the all of these animals, and if we kill them, I don't know how exactly it works. We get their heads. And if that's not cool, I don't know what is. The devs spent so much time with this fucking trophy room. Siegfried Mueller has always been a jovial man by disposition, but the prospect of that day's hunt made him especially happy, as did planning for every hunt of his life. The man went over his map another time, detailing the game's habitat and its expected locations. From the ream of papers and hand notes, he had moved to another table, where his equipment for the day rested. Lovingly, the Reichkommissar verified every nook and cranny of each weapon's mechanics. The ammunition he had hand-loaded to the previous night, carefully calibrating the amount of powder for his rifle and hunting shotgun. From the tools of the hunt, he carried on to the hunt's accoutrement. I actually don't know that word. Water bags, boots, belt, knife, whistles, field rations. As his preparation progressed, Mueller's nose and ears remembered previous hunts, the smell of a vast African outdoors with sounds of beasts communicating with one another, the sight of tracks in the dirt, and of trees scratched by animals. Scraved, what am I drinking? Oh, that's right, Jones. Each hunt was a kaleidoscope of memories and feelings, and he regretted a bit that his memory could not hold it all. Even his hunting diaries only carried a faint echo of the glory of past expeditions. Visiting his diary was the last part of his preparation, and the one he cared the least for. Of course, he treasured the words on paper he found, for they were yet another anchor to previous hunts. But the world of paper left him cold, bored. Every day his bureaucrats begged of him to read just one more document, to sign one more declaration. Mueller pitied the men in their neat suits with tidy glasses. Theirs was a dry world of numbers and words. What really mattered was the thrill, the raw emotion, the fleeting moment where a man could shed off civilization and find the savage joy of the hunt. Mueller pitied his bureaucrats, but he was thankful for their dedication. How else would he find so much time to keep hunting? Speaking of which, time for a new hunt. That's equally badass, but also strange. Yeah, it kind of is, but... I think let's go for... Let's ask good old Schenk if he wants to join us. Schenk, Mueller's southern colleague, is a veteran just like him. Surely he'll appreciate a good hunt. The last together in 1958 ended up in their helicopter intercepting a local revolt, which they immediately suppressed by themselves. But ever since then, Schenk's attitude towards Mueller has grown colder. Still, more than 5 years have passed since the last hunting accident, and the Reichskommissariat is sure that whatever had made Schenk upset has passed, and if it hasn't, then a good hunt is exactly what he needs to relieve some stress. I'm sure. That'll work. You know, let's invite someone. Who do we want to invite? Heinrich Nordorf leads the biggest automobile company in the Reich, Volkswagen. Having him in Hitlerstadt is both an honor and a blessing, as Volkswagen buys our raw materials at very good prices. Let's get Volkswagen coming over. Get some good old, marketing. Get a good old sponsor. What did you know it? This level of Nazi oppression has been brought to you by Volkswagen. The captain has turned off a no smoking light, declared the stewardess of Lufthansa Flight 897. Lufthansa thanks you for flying with us, and we welcome you to Leopoldville. Heinrich Nordhoff got up and stretched for the first time since he departed Khartoum. I always forget how to pronounce that. Several hours ago. He got off his coat and his carry-on luggage before he departed the plane and breathed in the warm tropical air that greeted him. As he stood in the air-conditioned terminal, waiting for his luggage to arrive, he mentally went over his itinerary for his meeting. First, meet some businesses and officials here in Leopoldville. Then was a meeting with the Reichskommissar and going on a trip to see some wildlife, as he understood it. Then, after that was done, the Central African officials had insisted they take some time at a special resort in Hitlerstadt that had been constructed for important dignitaries like himself. Well, not important enough to give a massive greeting to like some of the other esteemed guests. Finding his bags, Heinrich Nordhoff took them off the belt and walked to the terminal lobby. He was pleased to find the taxi driver holding up his name on a board. Heinrich smiled. First destination would be his hotel. He needed to take a shower and change his clothes. He had some big days ahead of him. And we'll be sure to impress. Isn't that right, guys? I remember when good old Hitler dies. Sometime in 63, I think. So we have some time to try to max out our trophy room. I saw the well, that was something. What had turned from routine business trip had descended into a haze of drunkenness, of violence, and the occasional visit to suppliers. It started out innocently enough with a few public meetings and formal presentations with rubber plantation owners and oil executives. The meeting with Mueller started off normal with a bit friendly, I think that's what they mean to say. But as the visit went to Hitlerstadt, things became less businesslike and more, well, relaxed is a gentle way of putting it. A less gentle way of putting it was that he honestly hardly had an idea of what happened in these last few days. Only a few vague memories of what had happened, where that farm was, what he hunted, how long he spent in the air with the Reichskommissar, how much he drank and ate last night, what he drank and ate last night, all eluded him. He tried to focus on what he could remember, so he had some takeaways to tell the executives back in Germany. Let's see, well, it was mixed on one hand. On the other hand, the Reichskommissar was a gracious and friendly host. On the other, he might not be the most stable of business partners. Yet again, the food was good, but the scenery was fantastic and the people were extremely friendly. But still, he got the sense that everything was an isolated illusion that might fall apart. Looking out the window of a passenger jet, he came up with his most prominent conclusion. The roads of his country were terrible. People lacked the ability to go where they needed to go, and you couldn't sell any bugs in a place where the potholes might bottom you out or you sink into the mud up to the bumper. Maybe convince the board to invest in the colony and do something about that. No, maybe you should. I don't know. All I do know is that we should get some guys. Oops, Zoom Bomber. From the outside, the place looked almost surreal, or like a practical joke pulled by an architect with far too much free time and poor sense of humor. Just outside of the barbed wire snaking around the perimeter of an Air Force base with its hangars and concrete control towers, stood the perfect imitation of a Bavarian Brauhaus, dead in the middle of the arid landscape of the Kalahari. Zoom Bomber, said the outside sign, with a picture of a cartoonish pilot drinking an oversized pint of beer while driving its plane in the mad circle across the sky. Much like the building, its colors were fading in the dusty wind. Two men armed with cameras and a microphone made their way inside. "Ein Film, ja?" The airman laughed with his comrades, all of them looking into a camera, most of them still wearing pilot's clothes, the Luftwaffe crew members. Each of them had their beers and their cigarettes, coarsely laughing and smoking in the dimly lit interior. "Well, you've come to the right place," said one of them, who seemed to be their leader, in a thickly accented English. "Right here you can see the forgotten heroes of the Reich, the proud airmen. We're the ones who will save the day in Africa. We're the ones who will remind these dirty black Untermensch that they belong in the Stone Age. And we'll bomb them enough to make sure they go back to it." Everyone laughed, and another round of alcohol was passed around, followed by many, many others. Many hours passed, and the night fell over the Namibian desert. Thousands of stars lit above, and yet the two filmmakers were still there. Many pilots had gone to sleep, but a few visibly drunk were still in the tavern. Franco und Galtiero, huh? Welcome back, by the way. Alright, I lost my plate. From Italy. I've been there once, on vacation when I was a kid. The pilot smiled, a half-smoked cigarette hanging from his lips. "I wish I could go on a vacation. Sometimes it's just..." "How do you say in English?" A pause followed. The pilot's eyes wandered off in the distance. A distant rumble was heard. A bomber returning to the runways. "Tiring. It feels tiring." The pilot got up, struggling to stay on his feet. "I did a lot of missions on a rebel-held village yesterday. I've been to the place. There used to be children there. They would never go on a vacation." The pilot smiled dryly, before a grimace of disgust appeared on his face as he left the tavern. Time to leave Central Africa. Oh dear. Reichskommissar Mueller took the M30 Luftwaffe drilling out of a box he had set on his patio table. A combination shotgun and big aim rifle, it was manufactured by Sauer & Sohn, during the Second Weltkrieg as a survival rifle for Luftwaffe bomber crews, evidently so they could participate in some game hunting as they wasted away in the North African desert. Mueller had decided to take it out today to see if it performed about as well as he remembered from when he first tried it out several years ago. He took two 12-gauge shells and one 9.3x 74mm round from the box, inserting the shells in the top two barrels and the rim cartridge on the bottom one. Snapping it shut, he then began to wait for a flock of birds to pass overhead for him to test on. They would be here, he was sure of it. They had been chirping away relentlessly this morning. As he focused his attention on listening for the birds, he almost missed hearing the clerk running up with a document calling out, "It's from Mabuyi Mai." Without a word, Mueller took the dispatch from the clerk, as the clerk, panting, exclaimed, "The mine? A total collapse. Lots of casualties. They don't know how bad it is, but..." "God fucking damn it!" bellowed Mueller. "Those fucks at Maiba can't even dig a ditch in their backyards, can they? Now our biggest diamond mine is fucked because we can't go 3 meters underground without caving in their own operation. It's all fucked." As to accentuate his point, the M30 went off, launching a round of indeterminate caliber into the trees at the edge of Mueller's property. At that he and the clerk knew was a large amount of foliage was rustled, causing a number of previously sought-after birds to immediately take flight. This mutual shock allowed Mueller to clear his head. "Get that Belgian company on the line and tell them I want answers," he said. The clerk agreed and ran off. Belgians really can't do anything, can they? I mean, fucking look at them. They don't even have a country anymore. Oh god, that frame rate dropped. They don't even have a fucking country anymore. It's just fucking... They're just led by Himmler. Burgundian system. Which, if you want a fate worse than, Nazism, National Socialism, this is fucking... That's Nazism on meth. Not even on crack. Like, Nazi Germany was bad, but I'd go there in a heartbeat over Burgundy. Well, now it's time to invite Mueller. Reichskommissar Mueller had begun to wrap his head around how large Africa was, but he still couldn't figure out where the endless paperwork his underlings labored under came from. This was of little concern to the man. Tons of resources. That's a misspelled word again. Resources came out for the fatherland, while tons of cash came in from every corner of the world. As long as things went swimmingly, the Reichskommissar felt that it would be a crime not to enjoy his status as much as he could. Still, the only naturally gregarious Mueller felt a bit isolated in his position. His only company were an endless rotating cast of bureaucrats and foreign businessmen that desired nothing more than to get their job done and then leave Africa. Of course, he'd met some fun people in Sudwest Africa, but even the fun people couldn't free themselves all the time for the Reichskommissar's hunting expeditions. Mueller was thus perpetually on the lookout for new friends and company. As he went on his hunting expeditions, that was at the heart of his new project, to look abroad for new hunting partners. Reichskommissar Wolfgang Schenk of Sudwest Africa was a strangely serious and melancholy man, but he too seemed to share Mueller's disdain for the drudgery of bureaucracy. But flying A's could often be found in the skies above Africa, surveying his domain, like Jupiter atop Mount Olympus. Olympus, not Olympias. What am I? God, I read Percy Jackson. Why am I saying Olympus? Reichskommissar Mueller reckoned that the Flying Ace might be interested in tagging along on a hunting excursion. Besides, wasn't personal diplomacy between the Reichskommissar crucial to their African mission? Mueller was sure he could write off this as a business expense somewhere. "Fetch me my typewriter, boys. We're doing it." And then, let's go through the jungle. The jungle covering most of Central Africa are surely filled with wild game, or so the Reichskommissar thinks. He's mounted an expedition to chart the wild areas still untouched by man, or more precisely by his helicopter, to find out the most abundant and potential prey. Cleverly, for once, he managed to convince a businessman to pay everything by having a couple of prospectors following the cartographers. Should any new ore or diamond veins be discovered, the rights to exploit them will be very lucrative indeed. You gotta love capitalism, am I right, guys? It's good stuff. Look at this Jones Soda, which is not the sponsor of this video, but it should be. So if we have anyone at Jones watching right now, hit me up. We can set something up. By now the tracking had begun near 2 days ago. It was difficult to get the big cat away from its pride, but the hunters were patient. This one liked to feast with it. Oh, 2 events popped up at once. Okay. With itself every now and then. It certainly did so with a number of a trap's herb animals. As age wore his finesse like sand on bone, the village elder had decided to bring his son to this one hunt, ease him into the role for when the old man's spirit departs for the afterlife. And so behind a boulder, both father and son watched the lion yawn, stand and skulk away from the rest. They relayed their chants. The old hunter whispered instructions to his son as tense muscles drew his beloved hand-carved bow. Done him justice in many, many hunts in the past. Today's hunt will be no different. He hafted the arrow his son proffered, eyeing the lion as he drew its aging string, and a large crack rang out. The majestic lion's blood soaked the sands above its figure. Savannah's peace died with it. A rushing sound followed as a large metal bird descended upon its prey, scaring the lions and antelope and storks away from the watering hole. Only father and son bore witness of a sight of strange men with strange clothes, bursting from the bird's bright red belly. They crowded along the dead lion's carcass, laughing and shouting in strange tongues. One man stepped forward to hoist the lion's blood-covered neck. In an instant, another former lightning from his hands right onto the beast's head. Instincts regained, the hunter pulled at his son as they snuck away from the menace that had upturned their lives. No matter the awe they inspired and the frolic pleasure with which they toyed the mighty beast's corpse, these men were clearly dangerous, far more dangerous than the creatures he hunted. A world with no prey, only predators. We did, boys. Wolfgang accepted. After a breakfast of bread rolls, coffee, and a boiled egg, Mueller stepped in his office to do the morning's work. Work usually entailed him going through what ended up on his desk, responding to the most important parts, and sending the rest off to his subordinates who were supposed to handle it. Usually there was a person who would analyze it for him, but sometimes they sent it on because they didn't know where it should go. Perhaps Reichkommisariat would put another person above the first person, move a task the other person missed, da-da-da-da-da. To his dismay, it seemed that someone had dumped a larger number of documents than usual into his inbox that night. Mueller sighed and began to work. A few budgetary requests, memos that should have stopped a level or two beneath him, a cooling system maintenance bill for a nearby building, some fan mail that he got from some strange region telegram. Wait. Why wasn't this on top? Reichskommissar Schenk thanks you for your thoughtfulness and is honored to join you for the hunting excursion that Reichskommissar Mueller has invited him to. We did it, boys. Mueller knew what this meant without all the fancy wordplay bullshit in it that Reichskommissars had to put in to feel self-important. Schenk was coming and he was bringing guns. Now he couldn't work. There were extremely important arrangements to be made, ones that couldn't be trusted to a director's secretary. Hell yeah, Wolfgang, let's go. This is very important. I don't know what else to say. This is the best thing that's happened to me all day. Should we invite someone right now, or should we wait? Oh, there goes the triumvirate. Ooh. Mueller's map were never the tidy wrapped up affairs the Afghan SS expected of their officers. Symbols and scrawling words spilled out the map and into the desk it was laid upon, with pictures of animals, most of them depending on whichever species Mueller had recently taken a liking to. pasted across a map on the strategic hunting regions. Various military commanders had complained early in the colony's history that it made strategic planning sessions with the new Reichskommissariat useless, but thankfully their insubordination had earned them a quick trip to the parts of the Congo where few returned alive, if at all. Dissent had a way of dying down when exiled to the Mosquito Coast of the Congo was a quick alternative to actual change. Now Mueller pored over his most recent map, trying to decide which would be more preferable for his ends. He looked at the terrain, bringing to memory his previous hunts and the condition he braved. Since Schenck was a newcomer to this, the tougher grounds were out of the question, especially the parts of the Congo where tribes hostile to the Reich had armed themselves and closed themselves off to the world. And the areas near the Mosquito Coast were definitely out of the question, no matter how tempting the idea of shooting a few dissidents was. Mueller found his gaze drawn towards the Itombwe Mountains, plateau and low mountains, perfect for aerial surveillance and hunting, and the natives weren't uppity enough to justify killing. It sounded perfect to Mueller, and he barked an order to his aides to print out a large map of the Itombwe region. His mind was already off in the excitement of the hunt. Intrigue in the mountains. Let me go ahead and set myself a new timer.